So, if you couldn't figure it out, Tokyo Mew Mew was a pretty big influence on my life. Tokyo Mew Mew was originally created by Mia Ikumi, with Reika Yoshida being brought in to help with the story. Chapters were released from September 2000 to February 2003 in Kodansha's magazine Nakayoshi. It ended up as a 7-volume manga with a 2-volume sequel series starting later that year. It follows a group of girls who have been infused with the DNA of endangered animals to fight against aliens who have come to destroy humanity and claim the planet for themselves. Along the way, there's romance, drama, and friendship. The original anime was done by Studio Pierre in 2002 and ran for about a year. And it was in 2005 that it was dubbed into English by 4Kids as Mew Mew Power. This is unquestionably a formative anime for many young kids all over the world. So when a reboot series was announced in 2020, there was a lot of excitement. This version was done by Yumeta Company, who I haven't seen anything they've ever done before, but I have seen a bit of Yuiru Yuri online, and they did the Digimon Adventure reboot movies. Now that New has finished, I wanted to review it on its own, especially since I know AniTube isn't really paying attention to it. Now, I did tease on Tumblr a while back that I was going to do a huge retrospective on the original anime, and I still want to do that. Lord knows I have the notes. But much like Six Hearts Princess, it's gonna take a while, mainly because motivation is funky, but whatever. For now, I want to look at the reboot on its own, though I will be making some comparisons every now and then. I've already explained the basic premise, but with a little more detail, Ichigo Momomiya is a 13-year-old girl who becomes interested in a boy named Masaya Aoyama. After finding out what he likes with some help from a mysterious girl, she asks him on a date to an exhibit about endangered animals, or red data animals. Which, by the way, is a name that we should just use permanently because red data animals sounds dope as hell. It's there she's showered with a beam of light, and in that moment she becomes infused with the Iriomote wildcat. Shortly after, a giant monster rat appears, Aoyama gets knocked out, and then it's another mysterious person who appears, a boy named Ryo Shiogane, who tells Ichigo to fight. It's then she transforms, and with the help of the girl from earlier, Mint, the monster is defeated. From there, Ichigo is taken back to Cafe Mew Mew, the base of operations for the Mew Project. Ryo, along with a cryptozoologist named Akasaka Keiichiro, created 5 bioweapons to stop the aliens who are invading Earth. Ichigo finds allies in Mint, Lettuce, Pudding, and Zakuro as they all fight to defend the planet, and as Ichigo struggles to keep her relationship with Aoyama. It's hard to save the world when you're falling in love, you know? So the thing about the reboot is that it's following the manga more closely, sort of like Sailor Moon Crystal, but also keeping some parts in from the original anime, while also doing its own thing and fleshing out elements that weren't properly explored in either previous versions, and that's something I really like. This show feels as if everyone behind the production understood what Tokyo Mew Mew is, what it means, and wanted to polish the story to its brightest form. In most areas, I feel like they've succeeded. Looking at the animation and the voice acting, it's amazing. The new cast clearly understood the legacy they're taking up and have really brought their A game. It's really interesting to see the differences between the two. Like, there's the rich girl anime voice from the 2000s. And the rich girl anime voice from the 2020s. I don't know why, but that just stood out to me specifically. Just something about how the industry has changed, and it's neat to see that. Oh yeah, they even had both Saki Nakajima and Hisaya Mochizuki return in cameos as Ichigo and Pudding's mothers. I couldn't really hear it in Saki's performance, but Hisayo? Oh my god, I almost started crying. I think I actually did. I probably did. There is also a notable difference with the animation. Something I realized when watching my original Mew Mew video is that this scene where Ichigo is making sure she looks alright for her date. The newer version feels more stiff. I think part of it is the camera angle, which is a tad less interesting, and the lack of bounce and follow through on Ichigo's motions. It's not bad per se, just different. In general, Mew has much more consistency with its animation quality and character designs. I hope this doesn't come off as me hating on the new animation because it is really good, especially for the attacks and transformations. Speaking of which, I really love how the new transformations are done. Having the actual animal being present is such a fun addition. Lettuce swimming alongside a finless porpoise, lion monkeys throwing pudding around like a circus performance, it's so neat. I'm honestly sad we didn't get to see them more often, but this was a much more direct manga adaptation, meaning all the filler episodes from the original were cut. That's something I'll talk about in the future though. The story's themes of environmentalism have been dialed up to 11, which I think is fitting. In the second season, most of the aliens' plans revolve around taking some kind of environmental cleanup operation by humans and corrupting it. And it helps to show off both the hypocrisy of the aliens and the determinations from the heroes. Tokyo Mew Mew's cast absolutely flourishes in the reboot for the most part. There were more changes for some than others, but pretty much all of them were given improvements. For now, let's look at the team. Ichigo Momomiya is an upbeat and optimistic girl who leads the Mews. At her core, she just wants to protect the planet and her friends. I've always loved Ichigo. Regardless of the situation, she's just a fun character. Not to mention the quintessential cat girl for a whole generation. Though she has been changed, if ever so slightly. We can see that she takes more of an active interest in protecting the environment and the creatures that live on Earth. One addition I liked was Ichigo's desire to protect both herself and those around her. See, Season 2 introduces us to a character named the Blue Knight. This dude's entire character is a spoiler, but like, if you know, you know. Anyway, he shows up every now and then when Ichigo is in danger, saves her, you know the deal. But when Ichigo tries to rejoin the fight, he steps in front of her, tells her to stand down. He'll protect her so she doesn't need to fight. We see how this clearly bothers her. She appreciates the help, of course, but she isn't a damsel in distress. She's capable of getting out of a tough spot on her own. This entire storyline was a neat addition that added to the character of the Blue Knight, in that he was overprotective and occasionally possessive. The only problem is I feel like there wasn't a proper resolution to this story thread, but like, appreciated nevertheless. Mint Aizawa was given a huge change for the reboot and given a lot more screen time for it. Her story focuses on her wanting to show her family that she's grown and she can do things on her own now. And becoming a Mew Mew is part of that. Something that only she can do and she wants to excel in. Later on, we see her becoming more proactive in the family business. Fun fact, but the Aizawa family business was never really specified before to my knowledge, but now they're specifically in environmental development and technologies. Really neat. Actually, thinking about it, this version of Mint is incredibly smart. Girl designs her own machines, and even if they don't work, it's really impressive. That intelligence isn't directly shown off, but thinking about it after the fact, man heckin' sweet. The reboot had solidified that Lettuce Midorikawa is my favorite of the team. When we meet her, she's shy and timid, too scared to speak her mind. But when pushed too far by the bullies, mixed with the confusion from her powers awakening, she lashes out. But Ichigo and Mint reach out to her, and it's there she starts gaining confidence. There's always been something magical about Lettuce that I could never figure out. I still don't know what it is, but her story and design here amplify that even more. She's also the most empathetic of the group, always being the first to question why they're fighting the aliens at all. She's the one who wants to search for a peaceful resolution. Look man, I love Lettuce. I love her a lot, okay? My girl, I love her. Pudding, or Bu Ling Hong, is the youngest Mew, and she has all the energy and acrobatics as the monkey she's fused with. She's mostly the same for the most part, wanting to impress people with her performances, being a bit of a troublemaker, and looking after her younger siblings. Despite how childish she is, Pudding is also very emotionally mature, and we can see that with her interactions with Tart, one of the aliens. Zakro has always been the most mysterious of the group, literally being the lone wolf at first. And while we still don't know a lot about her past, we get to see her shine as the big sister of the group. She's a cool-headed pop star and model, but she's also a goofy teen who hangs out with her friends. I loved how her stardom was portrayed and how her standoffish demeanor off camera is more due to social awkwardness rather than being blunt or rude. Love this bitch! Going to the non-magical girl characters, Ryo Shirogane and Keiichi Akasaka are basically the same as before, though I really liked the addition that Akasaka is specifically a cryptozoologist. As someone who had a cryptid phase, it is much appreciated. Anyway, Ryo is the head of the Mew project. Basically being a genius, he took up his father's research after he and Ryo's mother died in an accident. Akasaka is the gentlemanly chef of Cafe Mew Mew, having been a student under Ryo's father and then basically raising the dude since the death of his parents. Oh god, wait. I just realized that. Oh my god, Akasaka basically raised Ryo. Oh my god, what am I supposed to do with this information? I love how he is fully aware that what he did to the girls was kind of messed up. Altering the genetic makeup of strangers is definitely not a cool thing to do, but also they just so happen to have the specific genetic makeup to be compatible with the red data animals, and he kind of needs someone to have that animal DNA or else humanity would be bye-bye, so like, necessary evil, and he knows that. To be honest, my only complaint is the new design. Like, it's not bad, but I missed the slutty black t-shirt with the choker. That was iconic. There's a lot I could say about Masaya Aoyama, but I'm gonna keep it saved for the retrospective because, oh man, he had some good changes, and I liked his character a lot, and oh, it's so good. I liked him before, but I like him even more now. Good, it's good. Despite how much I love what the reboot did for the protagonists, the villains are a different story. Quiche is back with all his toxic masculinity, and while things started out the same, I was kind of hoping more that they would explore his actions. Sadly, that didn't happen, and it feels like we have even less context for his attraction to Ichigo. They cranked up his sadism to 11, which I feel overtakes most of the fun flirtiness he typically has. Still, he was fun to watch whenever he was on screen. We love a mentally unstable meow meow. Pai suffers the most from lack of character. We don't really see him do anything except for summon chimera animals and spout off data percentages. It's only towards the end that he emotes at all, which is a real shame. In the original anime, we saw him being a little silly. We saw how deeply he cared, even if he tried not showing it. Still, his pseudo-rivalry with Lettuce was better set up here, and I really liked the ending he was given. Tart is pretty much the same. A young child who's a bit of a brat, but at the end of the day is a good kid. Although his new VA is Daiki Yamashita, who also voices Deku, and it throws me off every time. I adored this so much. Though, like I said before, I do have criticisms. I already brought up the animation, which is less of a criticism and more of an observation. Then there's the fact that the series is a lot shorter than the original. See, the way manga adaptations are done is a lot different than how it used to be. Half the time back then, an anime would release before the manga it's based on even finished, leading to anime original endings as well as a bunch of filler episodes. Though, personally, I really liked the filler episodes in Tokyo Mew Mew because they gave the audience and the writers a chance to really explore the characters in different ways. Filler episodes don't always work in favor of a series, but for Tokyo Mew Mew, I think it helped a lot. I can't help but think back to all the filler episodes from the original. Pudding pushing herself too hard when she's sick, Zakuro bonding with a young fan of hers, Lettuce making dolls. All of these episodes aren't important to the plot, but they flesh out the characters. Meanwhile, I don't remember the one-episode characters from this series at all. Thinking about it, I think a lot of this comes from the fact that I watched the original anime first instead of reading the manga, because I've gotten a few responses about my complaints saying that's how it was in the manga, which, yeah, I guess so. Ah well. Anyway, I think the biggest change in the series is the focus on the aliens. See, we never really learned anything about the aliens' history before. We knew they lived on Earth eons ago, but environmental changes made it inhospitable, so they fled elsewhere. The planet they landed on was harsh, but they survived. Meanwhile, Earth changed its shape and new life develops, so when the aliens try and come back, they see it's completely different and the rest is the plot. But we see more of alien culture in this series. We actually get a full glimpse into the past. We see how some of the aliens stayed on Earth as it was their home, while others fled beyond the stars. The ones who stayed behind perished, and what was left behind is what's studied by Ryo's father. I really like how they explore the concepts presented. Mainly, it's interesting how the aliens are all like, "We were here first and you're destroying the planet." And the Mews are like, "We're here now, and not every individual is responsible for destroying the environment." To which the obvious solution is, good. Another thing I didn't like, though, was how some things felt like forced advertisement. They were trying to promote the group Smoothie, comprised of the new voice actors, as an idol group and such, which is fine because the openings and endings are all super good. The insert songs are good too, but I guess the one thing I'm really talking about is this bit where the girls transform and do a whole performance for Pudding's siblings, and while it's very fun and cute, it feels really out of place. Like, when did they practice this whole routine? What? Also, this animation of Ryo and Keiichiro is really funny. These are all minor nitpicks though, because even if I thought, wow, that was rushed, it didn't change the fact that I was crying. Obviously, with my history with the series, I can't completely make an objective judgment of this show. I loved it from episode 1. I loved it till the very end, and that's because I already knew these characters. And try as I might, I still have all the context from the previous series in my brain. I don't know what watching this series would be like for a new viewer, but I would still recommend it. At the very least, it's a fun ride. There isn't a boring moment to be had, and I think that's all you really need. It's a story of cute girls fighting aliens with magical anime powers, and like, seriously, what else do you need? I love everything Mew Mew so much, and I promise one day I will create a retrospective on the franchise. I have some notes, and I have a rough draft, but I am a sporadic creature by nature, and motivation comes and goes as it pleases. So I thank you for being patient with me, and I hope you enjoyed this. Can I be cringe for a bit? I'm gonna be cringe for a bit. Who am I kidding? Cringe culture is dead. 地球の未来にご奉仕するにゃ